Yo, yo, what's going on, everybody? Hope you are having a good week so far. So, today's podcast is a real good one. And again, I know I say that every week. Mikey Lion, one of the creators of Desert Hearts, huge in America doing their thing. I was lucky enough to play Desert Hearts Festival last year. And it was just an amazing party. I had never been to a Desert Hearts party, but I'd heard of what they do and everything like that. And when Mikey asked me to play, I was like, cool, let's go check this out. And it was truly one of my favorite sets of the year. So yeah, I thought it would be great to get Mikey on, and it was a great podcast. So I hope you enjoy. Without further ado, Mikey Lion. And we're live. Mikey Lion, how's it going, mate?
What's going on, Will? It's going good.
Good, man. Where are you in the world right now?
I'm in Ennis, Montana, and it's a town of less than 1,000 people. And my friends just moved up here to just escape the world, basically.
Yeah.
And they've lived here for 2 years with a baby and are just living the dream, like fly fishing every day. And yeah.
Is there like a lot of people that move to Montana? Because you know Fernando from Dirty Bird?
Sure.
Like I'm pretty sure he was talking about it a while ago. Like he wants to move to Montana. Like, is it like a thing?
From what I've experienced talking to the Montanians here, they are not happy about it because I guess Californians and people from all over the place just have that Montana dream that they want to go and be wilderness people, and it's just driving up the rent like crazy in the small towns like Bozeman, and they're all getting pretty pissed off about it.
Property's pretty cheap.
But now I want to move to Montana.
Yeah, I feel like Austin's gone that way as well, and like Denver as well. Like everyone just wants to get the 100%. Fuck out of California, to be fair.
Yeah. Because the thing with California right now is you stay in California, and because California has the best amenities of any of the states, there's just so much to do. There's so much entertainment. And then you take all that away and you're like, what the fuck am I paying all this expensive taxes for? And the crazy cost of living. It's like, what's the point?
Yeah, it's insane living out there. I remember when I lived there and was just like, it's not really for me, Cali. Like certain parts of California I absolutely love. Like San Diego I absolutely love. But I'm
from San Diego.
Yeah, I thought you were.
And San Diego. I mean, San Diego's like kind of still kicking. When we left LA and ended up moving back home and just like kind of riding this thing out of my parents in San Diego, and the whole time I'm just thinking, this is so much nicer than LA. And I kind of had. Hold on, let me turn that off.
Shit, Mikey Lion's got his phone on loud, people.
I don't know how to turn off notifications on here. Sorry.
It's fine, man.
Anyways, we moved back down to San Diego, and all of LA is like, I think when I was living there, you kind of talk yourself into it.
Yeah.
And like, especially we lived downtown for 3 years when we first moved to LA.
Rough.
And it's a war zone down there. It's crazy. And when you live down there, you kind of put up that barrier. You like build that mental wall in your head to protect yourself, because every time you go outside, you're just exposed to just like this constant negativity and this despair of the homeless. And it's like, as much as I want to help and do all I can, it's like you have to put that mental block up, or else you're going to like hurt yourself mentally.
Yeah, I think there's like recently that they've kind of came out with figures. There's like over 70,000 homeless people that live downtown LA.
So wild, and it's getting worse because of this. And I don't even think that we've seen half of what's about to happen, because like the economic toll of this pandemic hasn't hit yet. And once that does, it's like shit's gonna be fucking get a little crazy.
Yeah, man, it's a fucking wild world out there right now, and I would not want to be in LA. I would not want to be in LA at all.
It's not the place to be right now.
No, I spoke to.
Where are you right?
I'm back in the UK. So my parents live in the middle of nowhere. Like it's near a village called Cheddar, which is where cheddar cheese is originally from. But it's like it's literally like you can't even call it a village. It's called a hamlet, which I don't think you even get in America. But there's like 50 people that live here. It's just quiet.
Are you up north or
down south?
Whereabouts are you?
Down south, which is near Bristol.
Down south.
Yeah.
But do you guys have your own version? Do you have your own version of like Raggies?
What's that?
aren't they called Raggies up in like North UK?
I've never heard that saying. What does it mean?
Oh man, it's kind of like hillbilly. Like it's like the
like the redneck.
Like the rednecks of the north. I think it's Reggie. That's what. Yeah, I've got some friends up there, and they just constantly are calling each other Reggie.
Everyone around here is just a bunch of fucking farmers. Like,
yeah,
I live next door to my parents, and when I'm like around my parents, and like somebody knocks on the door and like to speak to my dad almost turns into like it's like almost like another language, and they just speak so Somerset, and I'm like, what the fuck did you just say? Like, I don't know how you understand that. And then he starts talking like it as well, and it's like it's wild out here, but it's beautiful. It's like I can imagine it's kind of like Montana. It's very middle of nowhere, like lots of fields, lots of hills.
Rural but gorgeous, and
man,
it's a simpler way of life, right?
It's the way forward, man. It's the way forward. So Desert Hearts. I want to talk about Desert Hearts. I want to talk about what you've kind of created in the music industry, especially in America, which is there's not many crews in America. Most crews come from Europe and kind of then move on to America and kind of take over things. But you guys have created this amazing community called Desert Hearts, and I kind of want to like get to know how it started, because I've known you for a few years and followed you for a while, and obviously played at the festival, and it was a beautiful festival. But I kind of want to talk about how it started and where it got through. So like, when did it start? Why did it start? If that makes sense.
Yeah. So at the time, me and Marbs were throwing a party called Jungle in North County, San Diego, at this tiny spot called Yogi's Beach Bar and Grill. And it's like the last place on earth that you would ever throw a house and techno party. But we had just graduated school, and so we'd come home and we had so much energy. We were like 21, 22, and we just started throwing parties, and it was in our hometown. So all of our friends were coming to our parties, and then we thought that we were the only house and techno party in San Diego, because at the time the scene was like very electro house and mainstream music. And so when we heard about this other party called Moonshake, we had to go down there. We're like, no way, there's other house and techno heads in San Diego. Like, let's go find them. And we went down there, and we walk in, and Lee Reynolds was DJing, and he was playing Art Department Vampire Nightclub shit. And that was like our favorite track at the time, is like that very first Art Department EP with Without You on it. And we're like, what the fuck? Like, who's this old man just murdering it? You know? He's like twice our age at that point. And we're like, who the fuck is this guy? We're just fascinated, and we just completely just integrated into their party. And they were throwing a party on like every other Friday, and we were doing every other Thursday. So then our crews kind of just like started going to one another's party each week. And then we had like a little community going on in San Diego. And then a person, so he's kind of like the silent partner in Desert Hearts. He's like behind the scenes. His name's Christoph, and he's this like token hippie of the crew, just like as hippie as it gets, you know? and he was a big Moon Tribe. Are you familiar with Moon Tribe?
No.
So Moon Tribe's like the original rave crew in California.
Yeah.
Sorry, this is super. Hold on, let me just figure this out.
I think you go to properties in messages app or just your notifications in your settings.
Yeah. Sorry about that. We can cut this, yeah.
It's fine. It doesn't matter. It takes 2 seconds. People can deal with it. Don't turn off people. You're gonna get the whole story of Desert Hearts.
Yeah. Trying to just kill the notifications here. Well, I don't know if it's gonna happen, bud.
Doesn't matter. It's only a ding, mate.
Do not disturb. There we are, baby.
People can get over it.
Yeah.
So Moonshine. What's Moonshine?
Moon Tribe.
Moon Tribe.
So Moon Tribe they're kind of the original OG rave crew out like Desert Party, and they've been around since the 90s. I think they just celebrated their 25-year anniversary, and it's like where Christian Martin and Justin Martin like first started going to raves back in the day. And it's like it's a super psychedelic, amazing underground community. It's never been posted on Facebook or anywhere. It's like always but it's like a community.
Yeah.
And so Christoph had been going to all those parties. He was super inspired. He messaged us just like, hey, we've been talking about doing this like renegade party out in the Mojave. Like, we've been talking about at these parties, like, let's do it. Like, let's get your crew, like Jungle Crew, Moonshake Crew, and then his like Desert Hippies. And we all we're like, yeah, let's just all team up and do something. And so we went out there, we came up with the name Desert Hearts, went out there not expecting it to be anything. It was never supposed to be a festival or anything. It was just a renegade one-off party that was in the middle of nowhere in the Mojave, and just about 200 people showed up, and it was kind of like a survival party because of how cold it was. Our sound system goes MIA the day of the party. We just have no idea where our sound system is. So we have to call.
Did someone steal it?
The sound guy just like went on a bender and just disappeared. It's like, we're like, great. We're off to a really good start here. We figure out like a backup sound system, which is the Funkworks Function 1. It's like still my favorite sound system ever. And they've been with us since the very first party. So they come in, they drive out there just like at the drop of a hat. They get there, our generator doesn't work. So it's just like, it's one of those things where I'm just like, fuck this, I'm going to bed. Like, fuck this shit. Like, I'm so pissed. And then like at like 6 a.m., the fucking music just like turns on Saturday morning. And we're like, oh,
hello.
Yeah, you know? And it's like, oh shit, like, okay, it's on. And party's on, but like a cold front comes through the desert that weekend. It's in like November 8th was the first weekend. And so a cold front comes in. It's like 25 degrees at night with fucking high wind.
If you're in the UK, 25 degrees is cold as fuck. It's like -4.
Yeah. And it's a survival party at this point. Like, we build the fire in the middle of the dance floor so that like we can dance and stay alive.
Health and safety at its best right there.
Yeah. And then, but then that sunrise, that Sunday morning sunrise of, we've made it a full 24 hours now at this point, and the sun just like, what is probably one of my favorite sunrises of my entire life, because it was that feeling of accomplishment and that feeling like we fucking made it. We did something. Everyone there was like freaking out. Like, it was just like the most beautiful sunrise of our lives, like monumental moment for us. And at the time, someone on the dance floor was like, you guys are going to be the next lightning in a bottle. And we're like, what are you talking about? Like, you know, like, I have no idea what you're talking about. This is just like a fucking fluke that's happening. You know, like we're, and then we threw another Desert Hearts like 4 months later, and 900 people showed up just off of the word of mouth.
Yeah, that's amazing.
Next one had 1,500 people, and we're like, holy fuck, we better get some infrastructure under this thing, 'cause we have no idea what we're doing. We don't know how to park cars. We don't know how to like do anything. So yeah, that's kind of the origin story of it. And it just like blossomed into this beautiful community of spreading as much love and positive energy as possible, and art and self-expression. And it's a true community too. It's like tight knit.
Yeah.
And now we're living on Twitch.
Yeah, I've seen that. Like how you've just kind of gone from doing shows to Twitch and live streams. Like personally, I'm not a huge fan of the live streams, but I actually really like what you guys have done, because it's kind of like you've just done it from the beginning. And I love it when people just pick something up and just keep going at it. And it's not like you're throwing something at the wall hoping something to stick. It's like, we're just doing this whether it works or not, and we're just going to keep doing it until it works.
Yeah. And that's it saved our business. It saved our company. And it's wild to think that it did that.
Yeah.
Because in the beginning, we're just like, okay, let's just, I thought we were getting in late, like for the first 2 weeks of quarantine, like when that first 2 weeks was happening and everything was so slow, and I was watching DJs do their live streams and stuff. And then I was like, fuck, we just gotta get in this and hit it hard. And we started doing 4 days a week, and all of us would just take a night. And it was at first it was just like so therapeutic, because we gave like a home. We essentially found a home for our entire Desert Hearts community to live online and interact with each other. And it's become this entire digital world now of people hanging out inside like Zoom rooms, and like these side crews are popping up that were born out of the Desert Hearts chat. And yeah, it's like beautiful. And then now we have the third biggest music platform on Twitch.
Damn. It's amazing.
And just because like we essentially had 4 DJs, me, Lee Reynolds, my brother Porky, and Marbs, who like, we don't have anything else going for us right now. So we're just like, when it's our night, we're just going to fucking play and play and play. Like soon enough, we're like, the standard became to play 8 hours per set. And then, I mean, like Reynolds goes for like 16 to 20 sometimes, just because he like can't stop.
We need to talk about Reynolds.
We're going to talk about Reynolds.
We've got to talk about him at some point. But yeah, I think it's really amazing what you guys have done online. Because I've seen people talk about it more and more, and it kind of, obviously I've seen what you guys do. And I think that going to the music side of things is something that, being from the UK and like not touring hugely in Europe, but I obviously know I've done a lot of stuff in Europe, as in when I used to live in Ibiza and things like that. And the sound you guys play is very not American. And I don't mean that in a horrible way. It's very unique to what America is used to. It's more so, it's extremely Italian, minimal tech house kind of DC10 type of vibes. Where did that come from?
So when I studied abroad in 2009, and really like where I got my like music education was in Barcelona.
Yeah.
And I ended up getting a once a week residency, playing for like 6 hours at a time in a side room at Razzmatazz.
Oh, okay. That makes sense.
And
it's a great club, isn't it?
It's amazing. And that's literally where I got my name Mikey Lion from, is from that gig in Barcelona, because at the time I had changed my name on Facebook from Mike Leon to Mikey Lion, because I was like thinking about what I didn't want like my future employer to see the fucking nonsense that I was doing online. So I'm just like, just like hide myself a little bit. And then I got booked at a gig out there, and the promoter put my name on there as Mikey Lion. And I'm just like, yeah, it's kind of sick.
It works.
It's like totally fucking organic fluke type thing that I'm just like, oh yeah, actually it's got a nice little ring to it.
What were you studying at in Barcelona?
I was doing business. I went to school for business, and I was doing like international business, learning some Spanish, and you can basically go out there and take all your electives. But I took like a couple business classes while I was out there too.
I love that city so much. It's like one of my favorite cities in the whole of Europe. It's just beautiful.
It's like absolutely top 3 city in the world for me.
Yeah. The food is amazing as well.
Mm-hmm. But I just kind of started playing out there and going and seeing people play that European sound. And then went to Ibiza. And
I was gonna say you're right by Ibiza. You're like the closest city to Ibiza from Barcelona. Yeah,
my first weekend in Ibiza is worth talking about.
Let's talk about this. I know your weekends. I've been around you. I know how you lot party. So for you to bring that one up, I've got to imagine it's a good one.
All right. So my very first night, where it's closing. It's like the closing weekend of Ibiza. So we go to Pitong's Wonderland. I'm not sure which club it is.
Eden.
Yeah. And it's in the San Antonio side, so a little more rough there. And
it's just more English, which makes it more rough.
Fully. And so we're out there. I think my friend brings me like a nitrous oxide balloon or something from the club, because you can get them in the club, right?
€5.
And I'm just like, what is this? Like, what the fuck? You just fucking do this in the club? That's insane. And so I'm buying like our first round of drinks. I think we've been in there for like an hour or so. And I'm buying 4 beers for me and my 3 friends that I'm with. And we're while I'm buying these beers, we're chatting to these 2 English girls, and one of them just like swipes 2 of the beers and runs into the crowd. and so the bartender's like, okay, that'll be €54.
Yeah.
And I'm not used to paying that much money for anything. And so I'm just like, what are you talking about? There's 2 beers here. Those girls just stole our drinks. Like, I'm not paying €54. And she just snaps her fingers, and I'm getting lifted up out of my seat, and I'm just like, what the fuck? Like, what's happening? What's going on? What's going on? Next thing I know, just fucking get tased. So I'm like, what the fuck? Or what the fuck? What is happening? What is happening? Tases me again. I'm like, this is not how we do things in America. I'm getting, they take me out the side door, and I'm just fucking like, okay, I'm sorry, I'll pay. This guy, he's like 5'2", yoked, like super jacked, and he just starts like squaring up with me, and I'm like, what are you doing? I'll let me pay for the drinks. And I kid you not, he roundhouse jump kicks me in the face, and I'm like, just, I think I'm still high from like the nitrous oxide, so I'm like, I don't go down, but I'm like spitting blood, and like I see like all his like cronies are like fucking coming around me, and I'm just like, run, and like me and my buddy are just like, no, just run out the fucking side like area, and it's just like, okay, first night in Ibiza, like we're just gonna wipe the slate clean, like that. So that was like my introduction to raving.
What year was that?
It's 2009.
Dude, this is wild, but I was working that night.
What, really?
Yeah. I used to work at Wonderland.
Are you kidding me?
Yeah. And 2000.
Were you the guy that jump kicked me?
Yeah, I was that guy. I remember some cheap American guy that wasn't paying for drinks. I was working that night. I used to run the production there.
That is phenomenal.
Work with the production team. Yeah.
I'm so glad that you just said that.
It's wild, right? Who was playing? Can you remember?
Dude, I think like Deadmau5 was on the lineup.
It was Deadmau5. Yeah.
Yeah. I think it was like a huge night. And like Groove Armada, I think was.
It was was it the Radio 1 night?
It was like Pete Tong's like final
Wonderland,
closing party.
Yeah, because they actually stopped Wonderland that year, I believe. That was the last party.
That's so nutty. I love that.
Yeah, because I was living like right behind Eden at that time.
Yeah.
In some like.
How long did you live out there for?
I did 4 summers, 3 and a half, 4 summers.
That's like the English partier's dream, huh? You just go
mate.
Spend your summers out there.
Everyone I think it's like, what's the equivalent in America? I don't know if there is an equivalent in America.
I think there is.
I think it's moved to LA. I think that's the equivalent.
Or it's like, go to Burning Man. Not like the same, but.
Yeah, you can't live out there for. Well, I guess you could. I guess people do, but do you go to Burning Man every year?
I've been 8 times.
Damn.
8 out of 9 years. I took 1 year off and then went back.
I still haven't been persuaded enough. Lucas Aguel from Space.
Yeah.
And Colombo.
Oh, yeah.
They were trying to get me to go last year, and they were like, look, a Space has come up. Like, you can live like a king for like $5,000 in a desert.
Yeah.
And like have like an amazing place and just chill. And I'm like, could be cool.
Those guys are good. Those guys are good burners too. They would be good people to go with.
Yeah, I'm debating it one year to go with them.
Absolutely go. To me, it changed my entire life.
Did it? Why so?
Yeah. So I'd been going to Coachella because I'm from Southern California. I've been going to Coachella since 2006, and I went like religiously. To me, Coachella was like the best weekend of the year. Like I was the fucking dude in the car, just like Coachella. And then at Coachella one year, like I'd been always hanging out at the Do Lab at Coachella.
Yeah.
And then someone told me like I had to go to Lightning in a Bottle Fest, and went to Lightning in a Bottle. Was immediately just mind blown, because I started thinking to myself, what the fuck have I been doing with my life the past 5 years?
Yeah.
When a party like this exists. And so I'm having a dance floor epiphany of just like, what the fuck? This is all new to me. This counterculture, this like, these are my people.
Yeah.
This is where I'm supposed to be. Someone on like this older woman on the dance floor just taps me on the shoulder. She's just like, honey, like if you think this is good, you need to go to bed. I'm just like, soul. me, Marbs, Deep Jesus, my wife, some of like my best friends who I still camp with at Burning Man. We all bought tickets like the weekend, as soon as we got home from Lightning in a Bottle. And that was the year that Burning Man sold out for the first time.
Yeah.
So we got our tickets. We went. There's like 8 virgins. None of us had been to Burning Man before. None of us knew, like we thought we did. We thought we had done all our research, and like we like prepped so hard for that burn.
Yeah.
And then we just got absolutely annihilated by the burn.
Yeah, I bet. I can imagine. It's just, I've heard it's just brutal. I've heard it's amazing, but absolutely brutal as well.
It's not brutal. It's just weathering. And if you're not prepared correctly, then you're going to get your ass kicked.
Yeah.
And I mean, you're still going to have the best time of your life, but it's going to be rough. But my whole philosophy on it is the more that you put in, the more you get out.
Yeah.
And that's like, we've taken so many principles from Burning Man and brought them to Desert Hearts, and really just like that sense of community and wanting to foster sub communities and smaller crews to grow underneath an umbrella. That's one of the main things that we have going with Desert Hearts. And we have all these theme camps at Desert Hearts where like essentially like they'll have like a crew of like 20 to 40 people that they camp with, and then they've now got a home base.
Yeah.
They have something to give to the party, and the more that you give, the more you get, because it's like the most rewarding part about it. And you just make, if everyone brings that kind of energy to the party,
yeah,
of like, let's all put in, and then it's going to just make it better for everyone.
Yeah.
And you know, like, I think so many people go to parties to take, and to like, they go and they go self-indulge, and then just like, how is this affecting me? But a lot of people don't go to parties to give.
Yeah.
And when you have an entire ethos surrounding that of like, look, we're all going to give, and we're all like, that's what makes it good, then you can build a culture based on that.
Yeah, I remember playing there. Was it last year that I played, or the year before? It was last year.
Yeah, I think so.
Last year. Because,
yeah.
And I remember driving from San Diego, and just literally like queuing to get in, and there's certain festivals you go to be an artist, and it's just like, oh, here's another fucking festival, if you know what I mean. And here's like, you know how it is. It's like, we've all done it. Like, let's just go play to people and let's get the fuck out.
Yeah.
And even in the queue to kind of just get there and get in, there was you just felt something in the air, and that sounds hippie as fuck coming from me. But there's just something about the community, and it was the same at the first like 2 or 3 Dirty Bird campouts,
sure,
as well. And it's just like this vibe that you don't often get. Even going to a club, you don't get it, if you know what I mean. There's just something about being outside and partying in like the middle of nowhere, and it being quite raw and quite like DIY, if that makes sense.
100%.
And like, no one knows where to go, but that's amazing, if you know what I mean.
Like, yeah, it's almost it's like a little bit of organized chaos.
Yeah, totally.
And that's something that, have you ever played Symbiosis or Eclipse?
No, I haven't. I've heard amazing things though.
Yeah, so Symbiosis is kind of the ultimate organized chaos festival, where they just take all these crews, have them build a stage. There ends up being like 6 or 7 stages out there, and that crew's responsible for like creating the fucking vibe that they want. So there's like house stage, psytrance stage, bass stage, what you name it. And it just creates this vibe that you can just cut with a knife.
Yeah.
It's like, it's just so thick. And I think there's something very hedonistic to it, but also very spiritual at the same time. And Desert Hearts definitely has a lot of that. And yeah, it's like, it kind of creates this love bubble. And it's predominantly, like, I've seen it the most really in like the West Coast festival scene.
Yeah.
And it might be because it intersects with like, I don't know, like West Coast New Age spirituality.
I think if I'm totally honest, like, West Coasters are very different to East Coasters.
100%.
Like, worlds apart. Go to New York and like, I prefer the East Coast personally. Like, New York is my favorite city in the world, and you go down there and you're walking slow and someone's going to fucking tell you to hurry up. Whereas like in Cali or like West Coast, you don't get that. People are extremely nice and extremely kind of spiritual and look after themselves and look after the planet and kind of give back in that sort of type of way. And obviously that's massively stereotyping, but that is generally the case, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, it's just way more laid back. Like, people from New York go to LA to chill. Yeah. And like, people from LA go to San Diego to chill.
Yeah, totally.
And like, when I think of LA, I'm like, oh, rat race, you know, it's like, it's like so much more going on and so much busy. But then you compare that to New York, and it's like not even close.
Yeah. No, it's, when I played the festival, it was actually one of my favorite shows of the year. And I wasn't expecting it. If I'm totally honest, I really wasn't expecting it. Like, I love what you guys do, and I love the community, but I didn't really know what to expect. I tried to go to each show with like an open mind.
Yeah.
And there was just something about that party that it was I think it was the Friday night. I was playing like, I think we did 2 hours.
Yeah, it's 2 hours.
Which is like fucking amazing. Like there's no other festival really, apart from Lightning in the Bottle.
Yeah.
Dirty Bird, you don't even get 2 hours. I think you and Lightning in the Bottle are the only festival that allows that. And I think you just get to give people a different experience when you're DJing and you get to play for 2 hours at a festival. But there was just something about the vibe, like people on the stage. There was no like drunk dickheads. Everyone was just like super nice and like super friendly, and they respected your personal space and you respected theirs, and the sound system was great. And it was just like a vibe that I think you can't make unless you have so many people that are all in it for the same thing.
Yeah, exactly. And our community is so self-regulating, and people just know, like, if they see someone on stage acting a fool, because really anyone can get on stage if they want. You kind of wait your turn, but anyone can go on stage. We have stage managers up there just like kind of keeping people, giving the DJ like enough space to work, but also like some DJs prefer to have space. Some DJs are like, let's fucking go with everyone, and people from the crowd are watching on stage, and like if they see someone acting a fool up there, like they'll just take it upon themselves to go up there and fucking remove that person and be like, no. Like, and I mean, I've seen people get like physically lifted up over the shoulder and just like,
you're out.
Like you're gone.
Yeah. Well, I remember walking around the festival, and this guy had like a fucking motorized giraffe. Like, what the fuck? It was like in the art section, and this giraffe was like actually like a full size giraffe, but obviously motorized, and people could be on it. Is that like the kind of Burning Man-esque vibe?
Yeah, and we help do like give grants and stuff to different art projects, and bring out a bunch of like, we in the beginning we always have a big like sign up sheet, or like an area where artists can pitch ideas that they want to bring to the festival. And then it's always a really fun meeting for us, is like, okay, here's all the ideas, what do we want to bring? A lot of them are ones that we've had before, so they're like grandfathered in, but then people always come up with new ideas on how we can make stuff better, and then we end up it evolves every time.
That's cool.
And I don't know, there's something about fostering a community that's based on love and acceptance and positivity that just attracts the best people imaginable. Like our fans and our crowd are like the most beautiful people inside and out, and it's generally like upper 20s, like it's a little bit of an older crowd, and so it kind of weeds out a lot of like the people that are just dabbling in this. It's like it's kind of for the party pros only. And
they are fucking party pros. They have stamina
for sure. And I think a big part of it is like Desert Hearts, just like Burning Man, it's tough and it's a grind, and there's no cell service, there's no Wi-Fi. It takes a lot to get out there. It's bring your own everything, like like you have to bring all your water. It's like there's food vendors and stuff, but it takes a lot to get out there, and then it's cold at night, so it weeds out a lot of the riffraff. It weeds it, like you have to really want to go to make it work, and that's the people that you want at the party anyways.
Yeah, totally. And I love that you do it far out. I love that it is an older crowd, and that's no disrespect to the younger people, because I think it's really important that we have younger people come through the scene and kind of experience things. I think they're the people that are kind of going to bring the new Desert Hearts, the new Dirty Birds, the new, like, all these scenes, that they're going to be the ones that are forging the future. But there is something really attractive for me as an artist to play. Artist, I fucking hate that word. Me as a DJ to like play in front of a community that just doesn't want to hear bangers, and they kind of get the groove, and I think that's what you guys do really well as a pie. Like I said, like the music that you guys play is very different. So if people like it, people know what they're gonna get with Desert Hearts. It means that you can kind of take it on a little bit more of a musical-esque journey.
Yeah, exactly. And everyone's just always had such an open mind about it. And I think that the weirder, the better. Yeah. Because, like, I think when you have that kind of collective consciousness that's happening on the dance floor, and everyone is like, you can just feel the vibe of everyone around you. And, and when you have that kind of openness, then that makes for the best sets, because then the DJs are like, oh, I'm going to swing for the fences here. Yeah. See what happens. And even if they miss, the crowd's like, nah, it's okay. Like, we just appreciate you doing that.
Yeah, totally. Totally. I want to talk about the fashion. It Desert Hearts. It's like, you can kind of tell Desert Hearts crew from like, if they're walking down the street, you can kind of tell, right?
Yeah, for sure.
Like, what's that about?
I think it was, so we kind of started when, like, the all black techno wear was like everyone in LA was in like the drapey all black gear, and like we were just like, fuck that. Like, who are these people just like trying to, that, like, these guys are taking themselves way too seriously. Like, we're in the house and techno community. Like, let's fucking party. Let's like get weird with it. And like, very inspired, very like, I don't know, a little Club Kids inspired, of just like, who can have like the most outlandish, ridiculous, fun costume or like gear to wear. And then it became this thing where like everyone's now there's like the unspoken like competition, right? And we have the runway that gets set up in the middle of the Saturday at the festival.
I didn't know that. That's amazing.
There's a full-on fashion show where a bunch of people, like, first we show off all the vendors. Like, all the vendors they can dress anyone they want, and then that person can go stunt on the runway and like show off the gear, and then after the vendors are done, then it's just like open runway for anyone, and like anyone can get up there and just like flaunt what they got. And it's so fun, and it's so just ridiculous, and some of the costumes are just next level amazing. And I think fashion's always just been really fun and a way to self-express, and so it definitely has hurt our merch sales. It's like Dirty Bird, like they've like their fashion at their shows and stuff is like,
Dirty Bird,
you can wear the most Dirty Bird gear, and like for us, because our whole thing is like self-expression, make your own shit, it like our merch doesn't sell as well, because like, who wants to be wearing the same thing that someone else is wearing?
I feel that.
Like, how do we fix this?
I think you nailed it with the necklaces or the chains, whatever you want to kind of call them.
For sure.
Because every fucker's got one. They're like, oh,
shit.
It just, I can still hear you. I can still see you.
Okay, cool. Really back.
Yeah, everyone's got one of those necklaces, and you kind of see it on every dance floor in America, and it's kind of amazing. Where did that kind of idea come from? Because I've got one. I've actually got one as well.
Yeah, Lee designed our original Desert Hearts logo, and I'm like, I love our logo so much. It just like represents so much to me. And yeah, we started just giving out necklaces at all of our parties early on. Like in the beginning, we used to have these once a week meetings where we'd have like our meetings where we'd be talking about everything, but then they were also necklace making parties because we used to get all these wooden necklaces made that needed to be like strung up, tied off. And so we would just be there for like 8 hours a week with all five of us. And then we would just be fucking working while we're just making the necklace batch for that weekend. And then we'd go to that party that weekend, give out like 300 necklaces. Every single person at the party would have a necklace by the end of it.
Yeah.
And those people, especially when the necklaces are coming from us, it's like, here, let me adorn this on you. Let me knight you, welcome you into our family and our community. And then people just started rocking them because they felt a part of Desert Hearts and they felt a part of something. And then soon enough, you'd be like across the world at a party and you run into another person with a Desert Hearts necklace who's also rocking one. And you're just like, that's my tribe right there. Like, what the fuck? You're part of Desert Hearts, you know that shit. And then it's like, because of what Desert Hearts stands for and the whole ethos and culture of it, you know that person's a fucking good person. And so then you're just friends immediately at a party.
Yeah, I love that because being from the UK and we don't really have crews that do that in Europe. In the UK and Europe, it's like merch, anything like that is very American.
Yeah.
And I kind of didn't understand it when I moved to America. I was like it's not cool to wear a t-shirt from a fucking artist, if you know what I mean. It's not
cool. Nothing's cool in the UK.
Exactly. It's like you have to hate everything to be cool. And it's like,
it's wild because I don't know. I don't understand that because I'm not from there. And like, for me, it's always just fun to like try shit. And then if you fucking strike out, whatever. But like over there, yeah, I remember when, do you know Joseph?
Yeah.
Yeah. So like Joseph, he's from UK and he was always just like, I cannot wait until you with your fucking top hat and Lee Reynolds, crazy old man, are like playing in the UK. Like people are gonna their heads are gonna explode.
Yeah.
Like we're like, what do you mean? What do you mean?
It's very different over here. It's like the scene is different in a good way. It's like polar opposites, if you know what I mean. Both has its pros and cons. But I think there's something beautiful about people wanting to be part of something in America, and that's you don't really get that over here. Like let's say for instance, like the drum code crew, like it's mostly just a lot of dudes in soccer shirts or football shirts, like fist pumping, which is amazing. But there's none of that. Like same with like Hot Creations, you get a different kind of people that go there, but there's no one wearing like Hot Creations t-shirts, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
Like you might get the occasional person, but it's generally an American person that's just rocked up at the club because they're the ones that buy the merch. But it is beautiful in America. Like I think Dirty Bird kind of nailed it with the merchandise where it's just like
they're a machine.
Yeah, it's wild. It's absolutely wild.
They've got like the best. Yeah, their merch game is so tight. Like I have so much respect for it.
Yeah. I think Chris Lake is doing the same at the moment. He's like almost making like a black book fashion line, and it's just like every week something new comes out, and you're like, damn.
Yeah, we're working on it. We've got a bunch of stuff that's like ready to roll out that we're like planning on doing. You know, like real fashion type stuff.
Yeah, that's the thing about merch for me is like I much prefer like. I eventually want to have my own fashion line, and merch for me is like I did a collab the other day with Electric Family, and they wanted a t-shirt with my name on, and like it literally took all my team to like and them to persuade me to do it, because the idea of having a t-shirt with my name on cringes me out. Like,
I never thought about it. Like, it's just to me, it just feels so egotistical. Like, and that's my own.
No, yeah, totally.
Like, I know that there's people out there that would rock a Mikey Lion t-shirt for sure. But it's like, yeah, I've never made any of my own merch, but I'm definitely like right at that like fucking incubator stage of like
it's weird. It's really weird. And I did it during lockdown, so I haven't seen people wear them at shows, but I think that'll weird me out even more, because I don't, we all have egos, and I have an ego, but I don't have that much of an ego that I need people to be wearing t-shirts of my name on.
I have like a hard enough time even just like doing Instagram stories of myself, because I'm just like, like I feel like such a tool right now. But like, I'm like, people want to fucking see this, and like, so it's tough for me. I always like took that line of like not wanting to do this, but then also that's
having
just
to
the
do
way
it.
of the world now.
It's business, isn't
it? And it's business. And what's cool about the merch is that, so because we don't have CDs now, like how much allegiance and how much love do you have for your favorite bands that you bought a CD of them back in the day?
Yeah.
And like, you have that physical connection to them because you're now invested in that band.
Yeah, totally.
And without CDs, now that it's Spotify, like I listen to so much random stuff all the time and I love it, but then I don't have any like complete allegiance to them, or like, I don't have that same connection to that band because I haven't invested in them.
Yeah.
And I think that merch is really the way that you can kind of bridge that gap.
Yeah, now. I guess I've never looked at it like that. I think you're 100% right with Spotify and the streaming platforms, Apple Music and Amazon Music and all that, where it's literally, you don't listen to an album. A lot of people just listen to one record on an album, and then it goes on to the next. It goes on to a different artist, or it's like, and you listen to like, people have the attention span of a fucking goldfish and listen to like 3 minutes of a song and then like, okay, let's go on to the next one, and then let's go on to the next one. There's no like, whereas I remember buying a CD and playing it in my car for about a month. Everywhere you go, you just listen to a CD. Even when I was a kid, like with cassettes and CDs, you'd keep the same CD in your CD player for ages and just listen and listen and listen. And I just don't think we have that now. I think the rate people are releasing music and like the ability for people to follow so many artists at one time. Like Fridays is a shit show on Instagram, just in our community. Every fucker is releasing a record, and you're just like, how can people like digest all of this?
Yeah. It's the same thing with content across the board. Movies were the same way, right? You had your VHS in your house and you just watch that movie over and over and over, and you know the entire movie. And like, all of my favorite movies are movies that were from that generation of, and the ones that I resonate the most with because I know every line. And I think that now it really is, it's the war for attention, right?
Yeah.
And like the big war going on is the war over your attention span. And unfortunately, all the top engineers in the world aren't working towards saving the world. They're working towards how can they keep your attention hooked for a few nanoseconds more on this app.
I take it you've seen Social Dilemma. Have you seen Social Dilemma?
I saw it, yeah. I'm like, yeah. And I think I knew a lot of it, but then I'm just like, when they package it up like that, just like, oh my God, we're in trouble.
It's dangerous. And I think sometimes with documentaries, especially on Netflix, I kind of take with a pinch of salt. Whereas like there's a lot of documentaries that kind of talk shit.
Yeah.
And that are kind of politically leaning, or cult leaning or whatever that is. But this one was like, we all knew.
Yeah.
But I think it's that also someone telling you like the in depth of like what they're actually doing, and you're just like, this is fucking wild.
The first thing that I do whenever I watch a documentary, after I watch it, I always go look up that documentary debunked.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, okay, I want to get both sides of this. Like, where are they coming from politically? Where are they? What is their agenda with this documentary?
Yeah.
And I couldn't really find one for the social dilemma. And then, funny enough, I saw something getting circulated on social media that so the conspiracy behind the social dilemma is that Netflix wants you to give up social media as all your news so that you can only listen to mainstream media, and that's their real ploy behind it. And if you think that mainstream or that social media and getting your news through that is like not manipulating you, then yeah, that's it's like, I'm like, no, how are you gonna head fuck me like that? Like, and I don't really believe in that. I'm like, I'm such a skeptic. Like, I love crushing conspiracy theories.
Yeah,
it's like, it's just, I don't know. I have like a science type, like I have like a trust in science.
Totally, man. Definitely. Totally. Science, science 90% of the time wins. I don't care what anyone says. Like,
yeah,
it is what it is. Like, there's nothing we can do. And the world isn't fucking flat. Put it that way. It's just not.
But then there's experiences that I've had on psychedelics, on altered states of mind, where like science can't explain that.
Yeah.
Like, and so, yeah, like I've for sure had moments of like telepathy with people and things that don't make sense, or talking to like inanimate objects, or like like not inanimate, but like plants. I've talked to like the plants in my backyard before.
Yeah.
And
sounds like a great time.
Yeah. It's like the fucking peak experience of my life, actually. Like, I'll just tell you the story. It's because I don't think that your fans are probably familiar with it, but I've told it before. But yeah, it was like the very first time that I smoked DMT was at in my parents' backyard. My dad had planted like every plant in that backyard, and he's got like this full-on jungle. It's an amazing backyard.
Yeah.
But to me, my whole life, I just thought of it as a way to make me do yard work.
Yeah.
And so I had no appreciation for this yard whatsoever, even though it's amazing. And my brother gave me DMT for the first time back there. And like 2 minutes into it, I look up, and every single plant, every single leaf, everything in my backyard is just looking down at me, just going, yes, 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 with like the biggest shit-eating grin on their face. And I'm losing it. I'm just like, oh my God, what's happening? And and I'm watching fractal patterns of information shooting back and forth to one another. And I can understand, I'm just like, I can understand what they're saying. And they're saying, how amazing is this that he finally understands that we're just as alive as he is.
Yeah.
And at the time, I'm like, my mind's just fucking going, it's exploding at that moment, right? And I have this like thought, I'm like, at the time, me and Marbs were like cutting down plants in my backyard and putting them up at our jungle parties and like using them as decorations. So I'm like, oh my God, I'm so sorry for cutting you guys down for my jungle parties. And they're like, no, dude, don't you understand that what you're using us for is for a positive impact in the world? You can use us anytime that you want.
That's crazy.
I'm just like secret of life just given to me by the plants in my backyard, you know?
Yeah.
It's one like as long as what we're doing is for a positive impact or net positive in the world, like that's the way of the universe. That's the way of the world. That's how things should be. And so we started Desert Hearts 2 months later with that ethos. And Boom. That's given me my entire life now.
Yeah, I'm obviously, you know, I don't drink or take drugs. I've never done psychedelics. And in the last like 2-3 years, I've like been wanting to potentially try it. But I also know myself and know how much of a control freak I am. And like how things like have to be like very regimented and kind of, and I'm just like kind of scared if I did try it.
Yeah.
That
for sure, of course. Something that there's this. Do you know who Aubrey Marcus is?
No.
He's like a self-help guy. He's this amazing personality. Has a podcast, the Aubrey Marcus podcast, but he's also like a total psychedelic warrior, self-optimization type guy. And his perspective on it is how if you're too scared to let your mind go and explore like the depths of it, how in control are you really?
Yeah.
And I always thought that was a cool perspective on it. Because I'm like, to be honest, I'm also scared of psychedelics too.
Yeah.
Like I've had scary moments. But oftentimes the hardest trips that I've had, the ones of like the most self-reflection and in-depth analysis of what's going on in my life, and like they're oftentimes the hardest and most painful, but they're also the ones that I get the most out of.
Yeah. Does it change when you're in different mindsets? Like if you're going through a lot of shit in your head, in your life, et cetera, does it change kind of how the trip is when you kind of do that?
Massively.
Yeah.
Massively. Yeah, it's one of those things that I can't recommend it enough because it's given me so much in my life.
Yeah.
And it's helped me through so many hard times, or helped me realize different parts of my life that I hadn't ever thought of before.
Yeah.
And it's just, it's like, it's kind of like if you like to travel, if you enjoy exploring the world and trying to see the world from as many angles as possible, then there's pros to it. It's not for everyone, for sure.
Yeah.
And I don't think everyone should do it, but I do think that it's something worth dabbling in and like exploring a little bit.
I'll give you a cool one once I've done it, if I do it.
Yeah. I mean, which one in particular would
I don't know. The thought of taking acid does not appeal to me, if I'm totally honest with you. It just doesn't appeal to me. It just feels kind of like too man-made-y, kind of just doesn't appeal to me. DMT, mushrooms kind of do.
I would say like DMT and mushrooms are probably like your best starting point if you're going to explore that. I mean, DMT is like the most potent one out of all of them, but it's also the most spiritual. Like I went into that DMT trip like a fucking pretty hard atheist.
Really?
And I left that DMT trip just going, I know nothing. like Like that just completely warped my entire sense of like science is right. Like you can explain these things through science and like I left there just like I have an open mind now.
Yeah.
I'm like it completely changed my worldview.
Yeah.
But you know, it really is like they call it the spirit molecule. And what's crazy about it is that everyone has the same type trip on DMT. Like there's fucking spirits that come in and like show you things.
Yeah. Well, we all have it, don't we? We all have DMT in our body, and we release it when we're about to die, pretty much, I believe.
Yeah, I think there's some I think there's like different arguments for that and against it.
Yeah.
But DMT is in a lot of different things, a lot of living things in the world. And they think it might have something to do with dream state. They think it might have something to do with when you're born, when you die.
Yeah.
Of like helping usher you into like that next level or something, or even just like give you some kind of climactic peace as you're like going into nothingness. You know,
you're about to go. Yeah, man. It's wild.
But
it's dreaming. Dreaming is fucking crazy as well, if you think about it. Like, like how many times do you wake up and be like, what the fuck just happened in my dream? And then 10 minutes later, you can't remember it.
You ever get in a fight in one of your dreams?
Oh, dude, I have this like reoccurring dream.
And you just throw like the fucking weakest punches ever. You're like,
I have this reoccurring dream that like me and my dad get in a fight with some fucking random farmers that come onto our drive. It sounds like redneck as fuck, but I always wake up. It's literally the same dream every time, exactly the same, and it's weird. And you're just like, how, like, where does it come? Like, it must be something from the non-dream world that's triggering it in the dream world. There must be something happening, because there are theories of what dreams mean, right? And you can read, I don't know how true they are, whatever. Like if you dream like your hair's falling out or your teeth are falling out, like it supposedly means you're like stressed or something like that. But you're just like, how does it work? Because like I've had some of the best sex I've ever had in some of my dreams. And then you're like, you wake up and you're like, damn, that was amazing. And then 2 minutes later, you're like, oh, damn, that was not real.
But check your pants and then you're like, oh shit.
Maybe when I was like 12.
There's the explanation that I've always resonated with the most is that dreams are preparing us for situations to come, or they're not predictive of things that are going to happen, but they're preparing our minds for a fight or flight experience of like how you would go about training for something like that.
That makes sense, I guess. That does make sense.
So it's like, you have a dream and you're up against a bear. Yeah. I'm in Montana right now, so I've got bears on my mind.
I wonder how many. I wonder if dreams are ever from like past experiences that you didn't ever experience, but like your parents experienced or your grandparents experienced or something like that, where you're just like completely. It's something's been passed down to you, because we all have things that are passed down to us that are just instinctual, right? Like it's like a dog. You chuck a dog in water and they can swim. They've never swam in their life and they can swim. Like, where did they get that from? Chuck a baby in water and they can't bloody swim. So that we all have these instinctual things, and I would wonder if the dreams are part of that things are handed down. Because a lot of people have the same dreams, same type of dreams.
I genetic in the the talents that can get passed down through genetics is pretty wild, especially like, and I think that there's a lot of proof of it too.
Yeah.
It's like the world's best basketball players often have like incredibly talented kids.
Yeah.
At the same type of thing. And it's yeah, like and it can be a learned skill too. And like that learned skill can be passed down genetically.
Yeah, that's wild, isn't it? And then you get the like crazy intelligent, like the freak children that are super intelligent and their parents can't fucking do anything. And you're like, how did that happen?
That always blows my mind. That's like, I think everyone's hoping for that too. Like, God, smarter than me. I don't know what I'm doing, but just be smarter.
Talking about crazy things, I think that's perfect time to talk about Lee.
Oh yeah, sure.
The first time I met Lee was at that festival in Baltimore.
Yeah.
And he showed me a picture of his dick within about 2 seconds.
He's like, "Oh, you're Will Clarke. Oh, let me show you some of my porno pics."
I was so impressed as well. Like, just the fact that his confidence in himself, when he was just talking about the night before what happened, and like you were just like sat next to him, like with your hands in your head, going, "What the fuck is going on here?" But like, I can imagine that the stories that come from Lee is like the best stories ever.
Yeah, they're insane. Yeah, I mean, he used to be a professional BMX rider.
Oh, really? So, I didn't know that.
Yeah, when he was 18, he moved from England, and he moved because he's from Oxford originally.
Yeah,
and then he left. Like he's always like a really smart kid, got really good grades, but then just was like, "No, BMX is my life." And he moved to, oddly enough, North County, San Diego, like my city.
Yeah.
The same year that I was born, he moved there, and like just started pursuing a BMX career. And so his entire life has been like really extreme, right? Yeah. And when he broke his ankle and couldn't BMX anymore, and I think that's about the time that he started DJing in the 90s. But I mean, he was like on the same level, maybe like a little bit below like the top guys at the time, like Matt Hoffman, Dave Mira, the guys who were like the X Games finalists and like gold medal winners. He was like that was his crew.
Jeez, I didn't know that.
And so he just has that like ultra fast paced lifestyle, like always needs to have some form of chaos in his life, and he just kind of thrives on it. I question it every day because I'm just like, dude, get some fucking regularity in your life, bro. You can't just like, you can't do this forever.
The weird thing is that you're half his age and you're telling him to do that.
Oh, dude, we used to DJ. We used to like DJ as a duo and it was just kind of like a off the cuff thing, but we would get booked as father and son just to like. And not only was it like an amazing joke because people would like come up to us crying, be like, "It's so beautiful, you're DJing with your father." Like, I'm the father in this relationship. This dude is so irresponsible. Like, I am fucking wearing the pants in this relationship. Like,
definitely.
But yeah, I mean, we couldn't have Desert Hearts without Lee. Like, he's the energy that he has is like the most pure love, unbridled, just fucking fantastic. And I think it took like me and Marbs kind of just wrangling him.
Yeah.
And like he was DJing. He'd been DJing for like 15, 20 years at the time when we met. And he was never like planning on make a career out of it or anything. And then we were just like, dude, you're coming with us.
Yeah, want to go on a journey.
He had his own little crew, and we're just like, nah, you're coming with us, dude. And like, we just made this like fucking power crew of like my brother and Lee and Marbs, and just started like our takeovers were like, for the first 5 years of DJing, we were like hitting it hard.
Yeah.
And partying fucking super, super hard, and wanting to like create these experiences for the fans to like remember us by. And so we'd go out and like fucking just put it pedal to the metal everywhere we went. And then, you know, you start figuring out like, oh, I can't do this forever. And yeah,
but he can.
He's still doing. He can.
He can. He has. There's some people that can just keep going, and
for sure,
it takes a huge skill. But then also there's some people that think they can keep going, and then they realize that a time in their life comes where you're like, okay, let's tap out. Let's like, let's. When was that for you?
That was probably like 5 years ago or so, or like 4 years ago. So I was like partying a lot, and Lee was like my idol at the time. And like, I was just like, fucking, if you're partying this hard and you're that old, I can fucking party that hard. And I just started noticing my mental abilities were just slipping, and my memory going to shit. My like mental fog was getting worse. And my biggest fear in life is losing my mind and getting like dementia, and it just scares the fucking shit out of me. And I kind of just hit that point where I'm like, I'm losing it. I'm starting to like, this is not good. And I'm only like late 20s, you know, and I think like the lifestyle in general, right, is already a ridiculous lifestyle of meeting thousands of people a year, and everyone remembers you, but you can't remember everyone. And of course, that always plays a big toll on me, because I want to remember people. And then people are like, no, dude, remember when we partied like fucking at this after party, like till late hours in the morning? Like, we did that like all weekend. Like, you don't remember me? I'm just like, I don't remember.
You just have to go along with it. So like, yeah, dude.
Yeah, it's like, it sucks and it scares me. And so I started wrangling in my mental health about like 4 years ago or so. And I went sober for 4 months, like off of everything, and my mental health started coming back. And my ability to remember things and to function and to have conversations started coming back. And that like gave me the push, be like, oh, okay, it's, your brain is so malleable and you can do so much with it. Even when you think that it's going to shit, you can still like do things, and you have to train it. Your brain is something that you have to train constantly.
It's a muscle. It's a muscle.
Yeah, exactly. Do you meditate for it all?
I don't. I've been told I really need to. I've been told I should. I know I should. I want to do yoga. There's a lot of things that I really should do. I train a lot in the gym. I do a lot of exercise.
Yeah, you're doing that, huh?
I do a lot of like outside stuff. But my mind is like always on the go. And I know, when you need to do something, but you just haven't got to that point in your life where you are actually doing it. I'm there, and I think I'm gonna try something in the next couple of months. I hope.
Yeah, there's a couple really excellent apps that can introduce you to it. One of them is called Waking Up.
Okay.
And another one called Calm. And those were like taught me how to meditate, basically.
Yeah. Do you do it every day?
I haven't been meditating as of late. I'm a creature of routine, and if I don't have my routine, then everything falls apart.
Yeah.
And so Like when I got sober, I also instilled like a hard regimented routine for the first time in my life. And it did like amazing wonders for me.
Yeah.
Up at 7 a.m. every day, at the gym by 8. I had a whole routine in the morning of like push-ups, water, some kind of exercise, just like a quick one.
Yeah.
Meditation. Then I was playing brain games and was just like fucking hitting it hard
on it.
Yeah. And then as soon as one thing falls off, then like everything falls off.
Yeah.
So right now I'm on the road living like a completely unpredictable day to day.
Traveling.
Not knowing what I'm doing. Yeah, it's really hard for me on weekends too. Like it's when we're gigging was like my weekends were always shot. I would always try to like have some semblance of my routine on the weekend, and it would just be like so hard for me.
I can totally relate to you with that. With routine, I have to have routine in my life without a shadow of a doubt. And I think I've always had that from just being. My parents are very routined, and being younger, playing a lot of sports, and kind of having that routine. If it's, I have this weird mental thing in my head where like I always have to be doing something. And it's like today, like before I had I woke up at 10 to 6 this morning and went to the gym and did a bit of work, and then I had a bit of time before the podcast and I was like, oh, fuck it, let's just go to the gym again. And I did like an hour on the step machine, and I don't know what it is, because realistically I should be like, just fucking chill, Will, like sit on the sofa and like watch a documentary or like just don't do something. And like, but I have to just fucking do something. And I really would like to learn how to have a balance. And I don't know how do you find that? Because obviously again on weekends it's like we're so used to just touring every fucking weekend and just being, so like we come back on a Monday or a Tuesday and like it's like getting back into that routine. But even when I'm on the road, I like get off the plane and I go straight to the gym, and then I'll eat and then go to the club, and then it's just kind of that thing. But like, what helps you when you're touring? Do you keep a routine when you're touring?
No, my routine like almost always goes to shit. But I try to go to the gym like when I'm touring. I try to, if I have enough time, because that's the shit right there. Like that's something that can just fucking keep your ass like
on it,
just on it for sure. But yeah, like I always kind of like let my weekends, they were kind of like my days off from the routine type thing.
Yeah.
But I always knew that like no matter what time that I got home on Sunday night, if I can like wake up at 7 a.m. on Monday morning, my week's gonna be fucking great.
Yeah.
And it like,
go on, sorry, carry on.
Oh yeah, it's just like if you're gonna fucking beat yourself up on the weekend partying and stuff, then you need to, you can't have the excuses for the middle of the week.
Yeah, totally. Totally. I think for me it's just that I struggle to switch off. And if I don't do something that's in my routine, I really struggle. I like have this like mental thing where I'm like beating myself up in my head, and like I'm telling myself that I'm lazy, and it's like I've got to like just fight that inner argument that I have with myself sometimes.
How regimented is your day? As far as like, do you have a routine in the morning, or do you have like a routine the entire day?
It depends. If I'm touring, compared to now, is different. Like my routines have kind of changed a little bit now. We're not kind of fucking doing anything really, but still every single day I wake up and go to the gym. But like if I'm touring, my usual day is wake up, go to the gym, get home, go in the studio and write, and I treat the studio like a job almost. I'm kind of one of those types of people that even if I'm not feeling it, which can happen quite often, I make myself write, and I just keep pushing and pushing and pushing and pushing. And I might get to the end of the day where I'm like, fuck sake, like what, like I could be in the worst possible mood, but I know that I've like put work in that day. And then I'll just eat and go to bed, or go out with some friends and go to the cinema or something like that. But my days are pretty, I'm not a very spur of the moment type of person. And I struggle when my plans get changed.
For me, I'm not a studio rat. Like that's like, for me, working in the studio is like hard, right? Not hard, but it's like I get bored pretty quickly, and so I have to work when I'm inspired. And yes, I know I should be working. Like I should be working way harder than I am, for sure, always.
I think that's the thing. I think that's the thing, isn't it? Is that sorry to butt in, but like we tell ourselves we should be doing this and we should be doing that and we should be doing this, but it's like, should we? Should we really? Like for you, like if music, if you only like to work when you're inspired, well, that's when you should work. Whether you work on being inspired more and working out it's that kind of that mental thing where you're like, you wake up and you feel inspired today, and then you're like, why do I feel inspired, or how do I do things to feel inspired? And for me, that's something that I work on. I do quite a lot. Is like, we all have those days where we wake up and we feel shit and we feel lazy, and then what I would do is I go to the gym to get out of that, and then that puts me in that kind of inspired mood. But then if I'm sat in the studio and I'm just like not enjoying it, I'll just go for a walk. And then come back and see. But for me, I'm still trying to work out what fully inspires me, because I'd love to be like, okay, this inspires me. I know that this is going to help me be inspired. And then I'll just go and do it when I'm not inspired. And I think that's the thing for you, is if you wanted to produce more, if you wanted to get out more and write more music, it's just about working out how to inspire yourself to get in that mindset.
Right. And I've never really been like a super prolific producer, as far as like I'm not the guy for other producers to come to and like have me teach you all these fucking technical tricks. That's just like not me. Like, but when I do get inspired, and then when I do start making music, I make it from the heart a lot of times. And so like the new track that I just put out, it's called The Way You're Wrong. And it's like, I found this sample that like just resonated with me so much. And it like, I wanted to kind of just like have a female perspective of when you're in a fight with your loved one. And like that, like the pain that you have with it, but then also like it's worth it, when you fight with someone. And I mean, the track's actually like the highest charting track I've ever had. Just came out last Friday, and it's like sitting at number 2 on the Deep House Top 100.
Congrats.
So I'm like psyching right now, and I'm just like, oh fuck, I'm like like on vacation right now. I'm like on a road trip right now, and I'm like trying to get to internet sources to like fucking post about shit. And it's like, bro, I'm like, wasn't expecting this to kill so hard.
That's the beautiful thing about music, is that you just never know what's going to connect. And the ones that you think are going to connect never do, and the ones that do connect, the ones that you don't ever think is going to connect, always do. It's just a wild thing. Did you put it out on Desert Heart's label? Cool, man. Do you put everything out on there now? Or are you like solely
for the
on
most
Desert
part?
Hearts?
I put some stuff. I put out like a track on Dirty Bird. I put a track out on El Ro. And I think it like it definitely helped, especially like the Dirty Bird track I did with Sasha called Glide.
Yeah.
It was like kind of a hit
It's a cool record
of that year.
Yeah.
And so that was like, that upped my profile
Yeah.
enormously, especially because Dirty Bird just has such a bigger audience as far as their label goes than Desert Hearts Records.
Yeah.
But man, I love like being able to pick what comes out on Desert Hearts though.
Yeah.
And like you've got your own label now. And are you primarily putting stuff out there? Or are you still putting out everything everywhere?
So yeah, for me, I haven't signed anyone to the label. It's just my stuff out there at the moment. Primarily, it's gonna all be out on my record label. There's a couple of labels that I still will kind of put music out on. But for me, I've gone of the days of trying to fit in with crews. And I want to be in the point where, for me, I want to create a label that I want it to be, I don't really want it to be a crew label. I want it to be a label where I can really help artists get a foot in and kind of build their career. And doing label parties and things like that, yes, it appeals to me, but it's not the be all and end all why I'm doing the label. For me, I just want to be able to, I think a lot of record labels have kind of lost that, what a record label is for. I think a lot of record labels now in our industry or in our scene literally just release other people's music to benefit the heads of the record labels, if that makes sense.
Of course.
And for me, I want to be able to give artists something that a record label isn't doing. And I also don't just want to release like electronic music. I want it to be kind of a whole kind of different genre label. So I don't know how the fuck I'm going to do that, which is why I haven't signed anyone, because I'm still learning a lot. And kind of the team that I have are amazing, but it's going to take a while. And for me to want to sign somebody, I'm going to want to sign somebody that I fully, absolutely love. And I love everything about them. I love their personality. That's, for me, loving the person and getting the person is more than the music to me, to a certain extent.
I couldn't agree more. That's a big ethos of our label. Is I have to believe in you as a person. I have to believe in what you stand for. Your music's got to be fucking good. And it's got to be like an entire thing. Like I don't want to sign people that have 1 foot in, 1 foot out. I want to sign people that are like, this is what I want to do with my life. I want to go full all and out. And because I don't want to take those opportunities away from someone who does want that and is that hungry. Like I'm always looking for who's super fucking hungry. And
I love that.
It's like Lubelski, right? Lubelski, Wyatt, Marshall. They're like guys that I fully believe in because I see how hungry they are and I see how hard they're working, and that's who I want to support. Like, and then, you know, if there's other artists out there that I resonate with that have like come play the festival, or like Andreas Hennenberg, he's someone that just, we never knew him before or anything. He just came out to the festival, ended up staying for like 2 nights, and then we're just like, we are best friends now. You're the shit. Like you're the fucking coolest guy ever. And then like I'll always put his music out, and he's always like, he does our mastering for our label too.
Okay, cool.
So it's like a whole symbiotic relationship, and just those are the people that I want on the label. People that give a fuck. People that are in it for the community and are in it for the family, and like realize that when they come and like they're being welcomed in, they're appreciative of it, you know?
Totally.
And like,
I totally agree. And for me, I want to be able to give something to the artist that they're not necessarily going to get from another label. And and I like with your ethos, it's kind of similar to a certain extent, where like I want to just be able to have like a family of the label, that they all are doing their own different thing, but everyone has respect for everyone on the label and kind of is like a collective and kind of respects each other for each individual that they are.
Yeah.
But yeah, man, it's releasing music's a strange time at the moment.
Yeah, dude. So bizarre. I'm like live streaming once a week for 8 hours at a time, and then I'm like, all right, here's my debut track. I hope you guys are ready for it. It's like I would never do that. I would never like announce my new track fucking at a gig, you know, with like this like house music, you know. It's like we're not in the fucking trap bass scene.
No.
So like getting on the mic is like frowned upon in our scene. Like I would never touch a mic. But now that I'm like streaming from my home into your home, it's all entertainment, right? And anyone can play a DJ set, but like I'll get on the mic now and like tell stories and just like have fun, and I'll read people's comments and like it's a completely different skill.
Yeah.
And it's something that was just like the biggest head fuck in the beginning, because in one respect we're not connected because we're not in the same room, but in another regard I feel more connected to my fans than I've ever felt before.
Yeah.
And I think that my career in Desert Hearts is probably the biggest we've ever been.
Yeah.
Without actually having gigs to play.
Yeah.
And it's a bizarro world thing that's happening right now that we never knew or expected to happen. It just organically happened. And now we're partnered up with Twitch. It saved our business from the brink.
Yeah.
And like we didn't have to fire any of our employees. We like it completely saved our business.
That's amazing. You've definitely done it the right way. There's people that haven't done it the right way, and you've definitely done it the right way. So congrats on that, because that's why I didn't do it, because I just didn't. I knew I couldn't do it the right way.
You have to grind. Like that's the thing on it, is like if you're going to be successful at it, you actually have to put in a fuck ton of hours.
It's like anything, and I think people don't realize this. And I've had this conversation so many times over lockdown, and it's like, for me, I want to do something that I absolutely love. That's my kind of ethos in life, is that I just want to be able to do something that I absolutely love.
Yeah.
And I know how much work it takes to get to where I am now, and I'm still not even where I want to be. And I know how long it's taken. And likewise with you, like, you know how much work you've had to put in to get to where you're at. And with the Twitch thing and the live streams, is like, I know how much work I'd have to put in, and it doesn't appeal to me that much for me to want to put that much work into it.
Right.
And that's the thing. Like, for me, the difference thing, like what I really wanted to do is do a podcast. And and I put the hours in doing that, and that pays off. And I've been planning I was planning this since November last year.
Yeah.
And it got to lockdown, and it was like, now is the perfect time. Like, no one's touring, everyone's at home. Like, we can just have conversations. And I've never sat down and spoke to you for this long in my life.
No, never.
And I think it's just a really nice time to be able to like connect with people that are in our industry that we've never connected with, really. All we've done is like cheersed each other, hugged each other, and said hi, and then cracked on. And I think there's a lot of people that I want to talk to in this industry that I really just want to get to know, because I know that next time we hang out, we're going to have a good conversation, and we're probably going to we're probably going to make more time for each other next time.
Absolutely.
And I think that's the thing, is like, there's for me, there's been a lot of learning in lockdown on actual the community around life, and who's in your community and who isn't in your community, really. And for me, it's just, I really want to get to know the people that I really respect, whether that's in music, whether that's in sport, whether that's in something. And I think that it's the most beautiful thing about a podcast is that anyone can listen to this, but realistically, we're not worrying about anyone listening. It's just a conversation between two dudes. And I think that's kind of what you're kind of getting from live stream, and tell me if I'm wrong, but it's like, it is that connection where you're not in a club and you're not just looking out to a sea of people, where I don't know when you DJ, but generally when I DJ, I generally just like zone in on a few people. But when you're on live stream, like, it's very personal. It's very personal, and people are living their lives whilst listening to you. Whereas in a club, they're not.
Yeah. What's crazy about live streaming that I had to wrap my head around is when you're DJing for a club, you're reading body language. When you're DJing for a live stream, you're reading literal thoughts of people.
Yeah.
Of like you're getting the most amount of feedback you can ever get from a fucking live stream. And so that's something that was, and I even, one of the nights when I was early on, we were like having, there's like probably like 4 people at my house, and we were all like some mushrooms started going around, and I started taking them while I was DJing. I would never in my I would never do that at a gig because it fucking freaks me out. and it freaked me out on the live stream as well. Yeah. Like, I'm just into like, oh my God, this is too much stimulus. Like, this is fucked up. But it was just one of those things where I just had that epiphany. It's like, holy shit, the difference. They're worlds apart, but they're similar. And yeah, just like it's a wild world that we're living in right now. And I've been kicking around the idea of doing a podcast as well for a while. And I've kind of been having like second guesses about it, because just, I think the world that we're in right now is like, with all the cancel culture and like I listen to a shitload of podcasts. Like, I'm a huge stand-up comedy fan. Yeah. Huge comedy podcast fan. I listen to like so many podcasts, and all my favorite podcasts are the ones that are pushing the envelope of like what's acceptable in our current climate. Yeah. And because that's, to me, like humor and comedy to me is that's my shit. Like,
escapism, right? It's escapism. It's what people do to come and see you DJ. When you listen to well, I can only speak for myself, but when I listen to comedians on podcasts, it's escapism from reality, and they're saying the things that I want to say that I probably, if I said, I would be cancelled.
Right. And like, exactly. And there's just, I keep having this thing, like, I want my podcast to be silly and fun, and like, I want to know what makes people laugh. I want to know like what they're like, I want to know like crazy party stories and shit. But then I'm also like just watching people just get annihilated and like, it's like, oh my God, like, do I make my podcast something that's more politically correct so that I can like avoid that, or do I like push the boundaries of like what I actually fucking think and risk losing my career?
I think you should start a podcast. This is my opinion. I think you should start a podcast.
Is this one going all right?
Yeah, this is good. But I think what it is I understand what you're saying. However, I think you have enough people around you that understand you. Yeah. And that know you as a person. It's something that I think we all battle with every day as people that I don't want to call us public figures, but people look up to.
Yeah. Definitely.
And a lot of people, not a lot of people, the minority is looking at bringing us down. Everyone,
Right.
anybody that's success, not even that, anybody. There's just people out there that just want to fucking take someone down. Okay. I've had some stuff recently where somebody tried to make up some awful shit, and it's just 100% not true. Luckily, because so many people support me, no one's probably even heard of it, if you know what I mean. I don't even really want to talk about it because it doesn't need to be brought up.
Sure.
But it's like when you have people around you that, when you're a respectful person, right? I'm a respectful person. We know our boundaries in life. We know what's right and wrong. We understand how to respect people's feelings. But we're allowed different opinions, and it's okay to have different opinions in this world. However, being online, it's very hard to have your own opinion. But when you have people around you that support you and understand where you're coming from, that's the difference. And I think people need to hear more people like ourselves talking about their opinions, and talking, because the more we talk about our opinions, the more people get used to it. And I think the more people get used to it, the less cancel culture is going to be. I think a lot of people are just scared of saying stuff. And realistically, the ones that aren't scared of saying stuff, comedians, pretty much the comedians, they can do it, and they actually thrive, because there's a lot of people that don't say how they feel, but they want to hear somebody talk about how they feel.
Exactly. Comedians are kind of the last truth tellers in our society right now, because
totally
they're actually in a world where they're like allowed to speak their mind because it's just fucking true.
Yeah.
And they can cut through the bullshit. And unfortunately, like, we're DJs, and I think that, like, but I completely agree with you that the more that, like, we can talk about this stuff, the better it's going to be, because human beings are just fucking complicated. And that's it. Like, everyone that we know has done some fucked up shit.
Of course.
You fucked up shit. I've done fucked up shit. It's like, and it's just like, it's complicated. And like, when people are getting like canceled for being like associated with someone who did fucked up shit, you're like, your fucking own like family has probably done that shit too, and like, I don't know, I think there's probably a lot of projecting that's going on, as far as like when people are like taking, like, when people are like really going for it to like take people down, it's probably because they might be doing something themselves,
Totally agree. And I also think at this moment in time, a lot of people are doing fucking nothing with their lives. And this sounds awful. Like, everyone has been put into a situation where their jobs have been taken away from them. They have no income. Especially in America at the moment, the political situation, like, it's a very sensitive time. And I feel like we live in a world now where a lot of people don't want to take responsibility for themselves, and they just want to blame. And blame culture is the beginning of all evil. When people stop, for me, like, when I start blaming people for something that's happened, and I've done it so many times, and like records, like, I blame record labels for not working the records. If you know what I mean. I blame promoters for not selling tickets. Realistically, it's fucking people just don't want to see me, and people that don't want to listen to my music, and I'm not big enough to sell those tickets. That's the facts. But until I learned to kind of truly take, like, everything that happens in my life is down to me. Whether nobody can make me feel anything. Like, it's my choice how I respond to what somebody does to me. It's my choice how I feel about something. I can't go, oh, fucking Mikey Lion made me feel sad. No, like, it's my choice to feel sad. We live in this blame culture, and classic coronavirus is a classic example. Like, we all have to find something to blame. But at the end of the day, none of us have a fucking clue. And it is what it is. Yeah. Even the people at the top don't have a clue. But because the people at the top are the people at the top, we have to blame them. And it's not healthy, because it doesn't create relationships, because it doesn't create healthy relationships, because everyone has to be right. And no one can actually find their true. No one can actually sit down and have a conversation with people and be like, this is what I think. Yeah. What do you think? And then both of them, you might not agree, but if you don't agree, you can still be friends. You can still get on. You can still be married. I know people that mostly in America, that people don't even talk to their family now based on their political views. Right. And you're like, they're your family. Yeah. Like, they brought you into this world. We're not going to agree with everything. Okay. But why are you allowing one person at the top of that runs the country to affect your family so you won't even speak to them? Like, it's some fucking wild shit. And you're just
human beings are just so tribal by nature.
Yeah.
That when we have the opportunity to become part of a team and grow with that team and like, you now identify with that team, and when you're on the left, you're on the right, or whatever it might be, like, that's your fucking identity, and that's your crew, and you're gonna, when you feel that you're being attacked, you're gonna fucking fight back.
Yeah.
And that's why it's the news and everything right now that's why it's so polarizing, because they have to play to that base, and then it just fuels it more. And then add in this entire sense of fake news and that no one knows what's real anymore.
No.
And that's just going to get worse. Like, that's why this entire situation right now is so hard to navigate, because no one knows anything anymore. And that's probably fueling a lot of the blame culture.
Totally.
And it's like, what are we gonna fucking do? It can't be my fault.
Yeah.
Like, this gotta be society's fault. It's gotta be everyone's fault.
Yeah.
And no one knows what's real anymore, so we're just right.
Well, I think that's the thing but part of that is the media, where everyone's given different types of the same information. So you could go to one media outlet and they're saying one thing, and then you can go to another media outlet and they're saying another thing, and both of them are telling fucking lies.
Yeah.
And you're just like, it's such a strange situation to be in, when the news outlets in the world aren't telling you the truth. They're just telling you based on a political opinion, on their political opinion, on what they want to kind of get across to the world. And it's wild times, but I think there can...
Do you want to have kids at some point?
No. I've never wanted kids. I've dated a girl with kids. And that doesn't bother me, the whole that, if you know what I mean. And the reason why there isn't really any reason why I don't want to have kids. It's just, I just don't really want them. Why do you ask?
Well, it's just something that I always think about, because I want kids, but I'm also conflicted in it, because I'm like, I kind of see where things are headed, technology wise, and you're just like, wow, I'm not sure if we're still going up at this point,
Yeah.
and our society is getting vastly more complicated every day as new technology arrives, and it's just that's like the reality of it now. And is it an environment that I want to bring kids into is something that I think about.
I feel that.
But at the same time, I really want kids. I really want to have little fucking
Mikey
boy and
Lions.
girl running around, and like raising them. And I'm
Yeah.
scared with my friends in Montana, and they have like this beautiful baby boy, and I'm like, oh my god, that would be so awesome to have right now.
I think kids a lot of my very close friends back here in the UK and around the world, like they are all starting to have kids, and it's amazing to see. And I understand what you're saying, but I truly think that I think each generation learns more.
Yeah.
And I think it just goes to show, like, our parents, we're the same age, so I'm pretty sure our parents are pretty similar ages. Like, just how they are compared to how our generation is worlds different, and their parents were very different to them as well. And I think sometimes you have to kind of take a couple of steps backwards to go a few steps forward. And I think now there might be a few steps backwards, but I still think we live in the best time ever, in the grand scheme of what the world and what's to offer. Obviously, taking out coronavirus. But
oh yeah, except for that one.
Except for that thing. But I hear I've heard that a lot. With people scared of bringing in kids, but I think that I don't know, but I think that's probably normal.
Yeah, maybe it's just like, maybe we're just living in the most exciting time ever, and you just kind of have to think about it like that. And
I think we really are.
For sure, it's not even close. It's not even close. The amount of stimulus and amount of entertainment and fun. Like, dude, people used to fucking just go like burn tires and shit for fun back in the day. Like now we've got like virtual reality and crazy ass shit that's happening, and now it's like endless, but it's wild and it's complicated and complex. And yeah, I guess it's just like, all right, if that's the reality that we're living in,
scary.
You just kind of have to accept it, and then you have to instill some kind of like deep awareness of how you're being manipulated by all of these technologies around you. And I think if you can at the awareness of it, then you can look at it from a macro level and like understand how things are working. Because if you get sucked into it, like, it's crazy. I've watched my dad just become like, my dad's been like this Republican dude his whole life.
Yeah.
But now you couldn't find someone who hates Trump more. It's wild.
Yeah.
How crazy he's, and I'm just like, well, that is the party you've been supporting, Dad. But that's just like, what the fuck? Like, and I watch it tear him apart every night, and I'm like, dude, turn off the news.
Yeah.
None of this affects you.
Yeah.
This isn't something that is like, if you didn't watch the news or didn't read the newspaper, nothing in your life would change.
Totally.
You would still have your friends, you would still have your family. All of this would be still okay. But we are getting sucked in to the fucking entertainment. Like, all the politics, it's just entertainment. Totally. All the outlandish opinions and things that they say, it's just entertainment. And
it's just clicks.
How they sell shit. And so if you can be aware of that, then you can tune it out better, and you can actually live your life with some peace and friendship, and not lose your friends because they support Trump or they don't. And
I totally agree. I totally agree. And if for the last maybe 2 years, I've stopped following all news. completely everything off news. At the beginning of coronavirus on Twitter, I unfollowed like 3,000 people, and was just like, and I'm still kind of thinking of like unfollowing everybody on all my socials, and then just kind of like weaning in people that I actually really care about. Because
I thought about it. I should probably do that.
Just fucking do it, man. Twitter.
It's just
Go on.
Twitter is so gnarly. It's so heavy. It just fucking like I only got on it like maybe 2 years ago or so, and like actually started putting in time to try to grow it on there, and like it's a war zone over there.
Yeah.
And so is Facebook. Facebook is now this wild shit that goes on Facebook of just like people just shitting on their old friends.
Yeah.
For like having opinions. And then yeah. Like you can't actually have a reasonable, healthy conversation over 240 characters on Twitter.
No, you can't.
It's just not possible.
No.
You can never have growth and like figure out real complex situations with 240 characters. It's just not going to happen.
Yeah.
So then that's also like is the same thing with even like the whole Black Lives Matter thing right now. Like, of course we support Black Lives Matter.
Yeah.
But if you don't phrase it in the exact right phrasing, get ready to get torched.
Yeah.
And it
happened to Dirty Bird. Happened to Dirty Bird. Happened to Claude. And like, I'm sorry, but just because it's not how you want it to be doesn't mean that you're right. Doesn't mean that anyone's right. Like, it goes back to that thing, doesn't it? Is like the people around you know where you're coming from. There's a lot of people on the peripheries that don't have a fucking clue, and they just want to bring you down.
Fully, because it's fun. It's entertainment. It's legitimate recreational outrage that it's a fun thing to do, and I think it gives people a lot of self-identity of like, hey, I'm doing my part by removing these people from the entertainment scene, or and I think that it's just more complicated than that.
Well, it's also people in our scene. It's people. It's big people in our scene, or people that have done very successful things, jumping on. And it's not just over the Black Lives Matter. It's over fucking anything. Like I know you've had it with a certain artist, and I actually tweeted the person back and was like, "Can you just leave the negativity out of this? I don't care about it. If you can't say something good, don't say it at all." And then that person ended up trying to fight me, and I'm just like. Dude,
they retweet you and being like,
I'm
like, look what he stands for, and you're just like, oh.
I'm like, dude, first of all, I would fucking destroy you, but second of all, I don't want any of this. I don't want to fight anyone. Like, I want everyone to be nice and respect each other and do what you would do in person. And at the end of the day, if you're hiding behind your fucking screen, you're being a massive pussy. If you don't like somebody or somebody's annoyed you, call them up and speak to them about it. And there's probably cross wires. 90% of the time it's cross wires. Of course, 10% of the time people just are dicks and you just don't get on. It's absolutely fine. But why why rant on Twitter about somebody? It gains you nothing. It gains no one anything. And it just, I don't think people realize how much that affects that other person. And by saying something horrible on social media to somebody, don't get me wrong, you don't have to be like all lovey-dovey and over the top. But if you go out of your way to say something horrible about somebody, you don't know what mindset they're in. You don't know that like that person might be having a really shit day, and it may cause them to kill themselves.
Yeah.
And you never know, but I don't know, expect the worst. And if you think that whatever you're going to say could affect somebody, then don't fucking say it. It annoys me. It does frustrate me massively. And I think
yeah, me too. I'm like, I get outraged by the recreational outrage, and then I'm like, oh no. I'm like, fucking like the irony in that is like, it's like, oh my God. I'm like, why can't I let this go? This is so. It's like I'm getting sucked into the exact same thing. That these people are outraged about. Only I'm mad that they're mad about it.
Yeah.
I'm just like, that's fucking true.
Yeah, I think the key thing is to post and go.
Yeah.
Post and go. And it's tough because I respond to everyone on like comments, but that's pretty much all I do. Instagram, I put a time limit on Instagram on all social media on my phone. Well, Twitter and Instagram is all I use. Twitter I barely go on, and like there could be like a week where I don't go on it. It doesn't really bother me. It's so negative every time I go on it, it's so negative that I actually know that it's not good for me, so I just don't use it until I have to. And Instagram, it's a bit different, but I'm at the point where it's like, yeah, I need to chill out even more on it.
But it is enticing. It's just fucking coming for you. It's just like, come on, don't you want to read about a little drama? You're just like, oh shit.
It's just hot girls. Hot girls just get it. It's all these girls that they're just insanely hot, and I'm like, you're not that hot in real life, but your picture looks fucking amazing.
Oh, they're so hot.
It's dangerous, dude.
Yeah. I've been wiped up. So I mean, I haven't dated in over 8 years. It's just so I'm like, in a way, I'm like safe.
Yeah,
you know, like
you're safe, like, man.
Yeah, like it's a scary thing because it's like even if you like, I know that I'm a very respectful person.
Yeah,
but you just don't know, and it's just fucking
you don't know what somebody's gonna say, and you don't know who's gonna jump on it. And
it's like, not to discredit anything that's like ever happened. It's just the absolute shitstorm that we're in right now of where we are as a society.
I think it's really good to a certain extent, where I think a lot. Well, I can speak for myself. Like I don't know how to word this correctly, but I think, like I said, I've always been respectful and always will be respectful. Like this is how I've been brought up, if you know what I mean. It's just how it is. And I think being sober in situations kind of does help, because I think if I was under the influence, probably be in a lot worse situations in certain, just because you just don't fucking know what's going on sometimes. And you kind of find yourself in parties and things like, I don't ever really go to after parties or anything like that. But like, I think there's I think to have a conscience is really healthy. And I think there's a lot of people that do need to evaluate their life morals when it comes to in our scene. However, fucking go have fun. Go out there and go do your thing and enjoy yourself and enjoy being with other people. Enjoy experiencing other people. Just make sure you're doing it respectfully.
That's why my entire ethos has been about making it so that you're giving and making sure that everyone else is having a good time.
Totally.
And if everyone brought that, then we're not going to have these fucking problems. I think one of the main reasons why Desert Hearts has flourished so much is because girls and guys feel so safe there, you know? And it's because it's for someone to overstep a boundary and to like cross the line would be like an abhorrent fucking like misfire, you know, like that's like not acceptable for us.
Yeah.
And I think as long as we can just like, if we can keep building that culture in the scene where like everything is just to make other people having a good time and make sure that they're enjoying themselves and not focused on me.
Yeah.
And we're just going to have a healthier scene in general. And everyone will just kind of, it'll weed out the bad people.
I totally agree. I was talking to Born Dirty about this a while ago, just like we speak a lot. And I think what's happened in a lot of the scene is people forget why you get into the scene to start with. And you become successful, you fly around everywhere, you meet boys and girls everywhere you go, people kind of look up to you, people, your fans, people are telling you how much they love you, and you see how you affect them in their life in a grand scheme of things. And I think that actually takes away from why we got into this scene. For me, I just got into it because I like writing music and I like DJing. I didn't get into it to be told how much people love my music. I didn't get into it to be told how amazing my DJ set was. I didn't get into it to stroke my ego, really, and kind of have the like sex, drugs, and rock and roll. If you know what I mean. It's not like, it was never, I didn't even think DJs didn't get that when I first started DJing.
Yeah.
Like, it wasn't a thing. But DJs, since kind of the EDM boom, DJs turned into rock stars. And it kind of felt like there was a lot of people in the scene that were doing it for those wrong reasons. And I think eventually they're all going to get weeded out. And I hope they do, because realistically, I want everybody, girls and guys, to come to see me play and have the best time and not have to worry about anything. And I think that's important.
I think it just comes down to education and the culture that you're building, and is your brand and your label and what you stand for as a person. What do you stand for? And is that acceptable in your world? If you're a DJ who fucking thrives on just like fucking getting wasted and hooking up with chicks and fucking like putting that image out there, then that's the fucking scene that you're going to cultivate. And that's the culture you're going to cultivate at your parties. And it's not going to be a safe environment.
No,
it's not going to be conducive to the health of the scene. And I think that, really it just comes down to education. It comes down to setting a good example. How do you treat your fans? How do you make sure that the guys at your party are treating the women at the party with fucking love and respect? And that's really, I think that's the kind of the key to solving one of the underlying big problems in our scene today.
Yeah, totally. I wonder how you kind of stop. I don't think you're ever going to stop it. Maybe you might be able to help, but like how people will stop putting the DJ on a pedestal. Because I think that gets a lot of people in bad situations as well. Especially when everyone's under the influence. And and people
I've seen it go to DJs' heads, and then next thing they know, like they're fucking sending out pictures and just being fucking dickheads because they're just like, oh, I'm just starting to get a little bit of fucking clout. Feels really good.
Yeah.
And then like, oh yeah, I bet everyone wants me now. And you're just like, God damn, fucking pull it back. Have some respect.
Yeah, but I also there's that balance, isn't there, as well? It's like, yeah, you still have to have fun. You can't knock somebody for having fun. Like that's what we're in it. It's a fun scene to be in. It's fun. Like everyone's partying. Everyone's having fun. Yeah. It just goes, and it will always go back to it. Have fun and be respectful.
Yeah.
Simple. And if you see somebody not being respectful, then make sure you step into that situation and kind of make sure that it's sorted out in a respectful way. And you look after each other. You look after people. You look after your friends. If one of your friends doesn't get in a club, don't fucking leave them outside. Make sure they're safe, if you know what I mean. Or
right.
if your friends are in a club and you see them go off, make sure you know where they're going. Make sure, just look after them. There's not very nice people out there, and we're never going to stop not very nice people. It's just the fact of life. We just have to keep going. But yeah, man, I think what you guys are doing is amazing, and I can't wait to see what Desert Hearts is got to bring for the future, man. I think you guys are onto a winner, so keep that up.
Thanks, dude. Yeah, thank you so much for having me. I think honestly, just talking to you for almost 2.5 hours, really kind of reignited that spark in me to get the podcast going.
Yeah, do it.
Like I can just hit my friends up, and I can talk to my friends. I can talk to all the artists that I want to talk to.
Yeah.
It's for sure. Like what you were saying, how this builds a much deeper relationship between me and you right now. Yeah. I would love to have that with so many of my artist friends.
Totally, man. It's amazing. You should do it. And I'll help you if you need a hand. If you need to know anything, let me know. I'm down to help with anything you need to know. But yeah, do it. I think people need to hear more of us talk, because I think people actually like it. And people want to get this is the way people get to know who we are.
Yeah, for sure.
Social media is kind of gone now in that sense. It's not personal anymore. It's as personal as we can, but a lot of the time it's just fake bullshit. I think this is where this is where it is, man. Podcast.
And it's the same. Yeah, it's the same thing for me in live streaming. That's how I feel. Like I pour my fucking heart and soul out on the mic, on the live streams, and I think that's where I really resonate with people is like, I play good music, but then also just like pour it out and let it fucking free flow sometimes. And the streams that I talk the most on are like my favorite ones.
Yeah. So. Yeah, man, keep it up. So, dude, anybody that's listening, how do they watch you guys on Twitch? How do they follow you on all of your socials, et cetera, et cetera?
Yeah, so on Twitch, it's twitch.tv/Desert Hearts Records. We're doing 5 nights a week on Twitch. I've got one night to myself. My other 3 partners each have a night. And then we give up one night. One every Saturday. We just have like a different label or artist takeover and just let them program it out the whole time. Otherwise, you can follow me at Mikey Lion on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook. And I've got a new track out called The Way You're Wrong. Came out on Desert Hearts Records. It's climbing, doing well.
Getting up those charts, baby.
I'm psyched, baby. I've listened to enough podcasts. I know this is the drop part.
So anybody listening, go follow, go watch. Mikey, it's been fucking great. Thank you. I when this podcast, or when I asked you to do the podcast, I knew it'd be good, but I didn't think it would go this like deep, and I'm really happy it did. So thank you, man. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, likewise, dude. I'm really glad that just to kick around a bunch of ideas with you. And it's great, man. I got a lot out of this. So
definitely,
thank you.
Definitely, dude. Right, keep safe. Have a good time traveling as well.
All right, well, later, brother.
Big love, dude.
Peace.
And that was a wrap. Damn, that was a good one, wasn't it? Hope you enjoyed it as much as I did. If you did, please go share. Send it to your mates. Send it to whoever you think would enjoy it. Also, I'm going to be putting some of Mikey's and some of the Desert Hearts records in my Spotify playlist, which is called Will Clarke's Record Box. So if you are following that, go check it out. If you're not following it, go follow. Keep safe. See you next time I do a show. Big love.